plus some time for Q&A. My name is Gerry Clark. I am an instructor in the CSIS Computer Science and Information Systems Department. I teach a wide variety of computer applications. I've been teaching adjunct in that department since just past the turn of the century, so for quite a long time. I've been teaching. I was actually in professional development before that, helping people use the thing that was here. One of the things that was here before Canvas. If you're old enough to remember eCompanion, then yes, date yourself. There it is. And so carbon date yourself. We're old. So now I'm here helping you with some Canvas. So our goal today is to get some pro tips, tricks, things to get a little bit better, improve our Canvas workflow. We have a fairly large number of people here, so okay, I'm gonna unmute myself. There you go. Wait. Okay, I think I'm unmuted. All right. So we have a wide variety of Canvas abilities here. So for the folks who are veteran Canvas folks, you may find some things that are things that you already know. So I'm hoping that for everyone here, at least we can get at least one or two things that will be new to you, and maybe there'll be lots of things that are new. So let's get started. I have a couple of things to share with you. First thing I'm going to share is the Google Doc that goes with this session. I'm going to put that in the chat. You don't have to go get that now. You can go get it later, but I'll put it in the chat. Let's make sure this is going to everyone. I'll put it in the chat so you can click on that link, and that'll take you to the page that I'm about to share with you right now. So I'm going to share that page and let you see it. I actually won't be showing this that much, but I'm just going to show it now so you can see it. I'm actually going to work off of it on my computer here and kind of work our way through. So let me share. I decided I have too many toolbars open. One is, where's this? There's the toolbar, share screen. All right. It's really not my first time with Zoom. All right, so I will give you a little side tip. Then this is a Zoom tip, not a Canvas tip. I actually logged into the meeting using my phone, so I can see exactly what is being shared. And if you've done a Zoom meeting and shared, you know that one of the things that always happens is, wait, can you see that? So now I know exactly what you can see. So if you see me glancing over here, I'm glancing at my monitor. So I know you can see this Canvas pro tips. And this is the document, the Google Doc that I just linked you to. And that is really sort of the notes for this session. I won't spend too much time in this document per se today. Instead, I'm going to try to do most of the stuff actually live in Canvas. There's a couple things I can't do live. We'll get to that in a second. But this is meant to be notes, so you don't have to sit here and scribble notes. And I know it's hard to listen, take notes, look at your screen, and do all those things. So this is kind of meant to fulfill that note-taking desire that you might have. I will, before I go to the beginning of this document, I'll actually go down to the end and just point out that there's some useful resources here. We'll talk about the Canvas Instructor Guide and the Student Guide. We'll talk about those today. And also some links to Canvas Central, which is our central repository for information about distance education at SMC. And it's got a lot of great stuff in there. So I encourage you to go explore all those things. And I'll give my early shameless self-promotion. I do some training beyond this, and there's a link here to the training sessions that I have. So come, if you are happy with the session, then come to that training. Even if you're not, come anyway. All right, so let's dive in. Let's get in and do this. So I will just mention, and I promise you I'm going to get into real Canvas just a second. In this document, I just put a couple of icons here. And this is really to kind of help you broaden your Canvas knowledge in general. I think Canvas is fairly intuitive. But things are always intuitive once you know them. But there's two things that you should always be looking for really on every page. The three dots icon, some people call that the shish kebab, and the gear icon. So those two icons, you'll see those in lots of places in Canvas. One thing you should just do is click on it. And we'll do a lot of clicking on it today, but those things tend to lead you to more stuff down that alley. All right, so that's the overview. And again, what I'm doing is I'm gonna on my other monitor here kind of open up this document so I can kind of follow along, but I'm not gonna show you that document. What I'm gonna show you instead, what I'm gonna share instead is an actual Canvas course. So what I did was I took my fall Photoshop CSIS 60B class, which is a real class I taught in the fall, and I copied it into this extra sandbox so I could kind of mess around in there and not mess up my course, but do some changes in here. So I'll do real work in a real Canvas course. And my goal here today is just to kind of show you some of the things that I do when I'm working in Canvas that I think save time, that I hope you're doing to save time too, and also things that will help make Canvas a better experience for you and for your students. So that's our goal today. Let's dive in. In terms of the way we'll work today is I'm going to try to go and see if I can talk for the full time. I'm going to ask you to either put your questions in the chat or hold them, and at 45 after, we'll have some time for questions if you want to, and I'll try to cover whatever I didn't cover, or get into more detail on the stuff that I did if you need more details. Anyway, so here's the class. This is, again, a simulation, a copy of the class that I taught in fall. This was actually the home page that I had for my second week of the class. Had a little just brief message. I won't play the message for you, but it just talks about what's up for the week and shows them where to go in Canvas. The first thing I want to take you to show you is to talk about navigation, talk about Canvas navigation. And one of the sort of the first things you can do in your Canvas course is limit the student navigation. So this is one of the Canvas settings that I encourage you to go and explore. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, and I'm going to open it up to display in a new tab. If you're not a regular user of tab browsing, I highly encourage you to use new tabs, and here's why. It will allow you to open this new tab, see what you want, and then make your changes and still come back to the same tab. So I almost always open up everything with right click and open in a new tab, which I just did. And now here is the settings page for that class, for this actually sandbox version of that class. So here's my settings page. And at the settings page, there's a bunch of tabs along the top. I'm going to go to the navigation tab, which is this guy right here. And you can see that there's a bunch of things that are turned on and a bunch that are not turned on. If you don't remove them, your students are going to see every single link here in this navigation. And in most classes, in fact, I might say in all classes, students don't really need to have access to all that stuff. For example, files. So I use in this Photoshop class, I give them tons of files. There's lots of Photoshop files they have to have and use and work with, but they don't need a link to files in the navigation. When I want to share a file with them, I'll put it in context, I'll put it on a page, and I'll give them a link to that individual file. So I'm going to turn off files from their navigation by clicking on the, the three-dot icon, and I'll choose, oops, my screen just jumped there. I'll click on the three-dot icon, and I'll choose disable. And now it jumps out of this enabled list, or it will when I save it. It's now disabled. Just to be clear, though, your students can still access files. This just means that they don't have a navigation link in this menu on the left-hand side to get to files. So that way you'll have to give them the ones they want, and they can't just poke around. And frankly, my experience is that if you just said go to files, there's a good chance that they won't find the particular one that you want them to find. It's a lot easier just to serve them up the individual files on the pages you want. So I disabled that, and there might be some others that you disable. I would leave on GPS, by the way. We'll talk about new analytics in a bit. And these are all the ones you can see that I have disabled. And the one thing I almost always forget on this page, but today I remembered, is save. Don't forget to save. Not every page in Canvas has a save button, but this one does. I'm going to click on save. And now that's saved. And now when I go back to my, I'll go back to my home page for a minute, and I'll switch to student view. Bonus side tip here. If you're not using student view, use student view all the time. This lets you see what students will see. I think we'll be able to see this here in student view. Switch over there. And now you can see in student view, they only have these things in the navigation. I'm going to swap back out of student view, by the way, because most of the things I need to do are not in student view. But side tip, student view, very important. And they've actually just recently made student view a lot easier. It used to be that you had to go back to your home page to turn to student view. Now, on any page that a student could see, you'll have a student view button up here in the upper right-hand corner. You just click on it, and that'll take you immediately to the student view. So if you have a moment, be sure to check your student view. All right, so that's the first of my settings. Let's talk about a couple of other things in settings. And this is one that I discovered, I'm embarrassed to say, make sure I think I saved that. Make sure I saved that. I discovered this far later in the Canvas process than I should have. I'm going to click on course details in this same settings page and come on down. And at the very bottom, way down here, is more options. It's so subtle. It's really easy to miss, but there it is. I'll click on more options. I just zoomed in so you can see a little bit better. More options, and that pops up a bunch more options. So what I'm going to focus on right now is this show recent announcements on course homepage. So some instructors like this, some instructors don't. I personally don't do this, but a lot of instructors think it's very helpful, and I understand why. So I'll turn it on. We'll see what happens. You can actually choose how many of your most recent announcements will appear on the homepage. I'll leave it at the default 3. And I'll go back and show that on the homepage in just a minute. I do want to mention there are several other somewhat obscure settings in here. So if you're looking for these kinds of things, here's where they are. And in this case, there is another save button. That save button looks like update course details. Now I'm going to click on that. And now the course details are updated. I want to go back to my home page, and I'll go back here and refresh it with the little refresh button. And when I go to, even if not in student view, I can see there's the 3 announcements, the 3 most recent announcements on this homepage. So if you want to have your announcements appear on the top of the homepage, that is how you do it. Let me, as long as I'm in the settings category, I'm going to just mention one other thing that I will sort of briefly touch on. I won't get into too much detail on it, but it might be helpful to you. I'm going to jump over to the feature options tab. Again, this is still the settings page. Feature options tab. And then on that, in that list of feature options, there's this thing called new course and user analytics. You can see I've already turned it on. This is where you turn it on. You click on the button and enable it. And that allows a higher level of analytics about your course and about students. I won't, in part because this class actually has no students in it, I won't get into great detail on what you can see. What I will do is just quickly show you the general kinds of things that you can see by taking you to the guide for the new course and user analytics. And again, there's a lot of interesting stuff you can find in there. I'm going to jump back to our training doc, and I will mention that in this doc, I have put in almost every section a link to the guides that are related to that particular topic. So, and this is under analytics, new analytics. I have a link to the Canvas guide, and I've over the course of time, I've actually, let me go and get to this. There we go. I've actually seen lots of help documents, and the Canvas guides are pretty good as help docs go. They're pretty well explained. They're very clearly illustrated in screenshots. So this is the help guide for new analytics. And this, obviously, you'd have to have actual students doing actual stuff to be able to see your analytics. And so here they are. And so this is kind of what it looks like. And so you can see that there are course analytics. You can find information about individual students as well and how they've been doing, and find where they are in the course and so on. So this is great for, in particular, finding out students who are having trouble and trying to keep track of them and maybe help them, give them a leg up, reach out to them if necessary, and help them work better in your course. So that is new analytics. And again, in the interest of trying to get in as many tips as possible in the time we have, I won't go into any further detail in that. Let me jump back to my classroom and take a look at my next set of topics. All right, so I'm going to leave the settings alone for a minute. So there's our settings. And there is, by the way, no save button on that page. I'm going to leave the settings alone now and talk about copying and moving and duplicating items. So I'm going to jump to my pages. And if you work in Canvas, you hopefully have been working in pages. I'm going to open up my pages. I'll pop that open in a new tab because I like tabs. And I will view all my pages here. So here's the deal. You have a bunch of pages, and I'm picked on pages, but you could also do this for announcements, you can't actually do it for quizzes, for announcements, for discussions, and several other things in Canvas. And sometimes you want to edit a page, or maybe you want to make another page that's very similar to the page that you're editing. So what I almost always do if I'm making major edits on a page, or if I'm gonna, let's say I have my week 1 homepage, I want to make a new homepage for week 2, I will just duplicate that page and start from there. And there's a simple way to do that. Say it with me, 3 dots icon, click on that and choose duplicate. And that makes a backup copy, an extra copy of that page. So I'm actually going to go in and do some editing in this page later, but that's a great way to just make sure that you have a backup, a fail-safe in case things go wrong. And I've been working with technology a long time, and I've never once said, oh man, I have too many backups. I have said, oh man, I wish I'd backed that up before I messed it up. So I tend to be very, I tend to build in some extra redundancy to not mess up. So this is a great thing, have an extra copy of your homepage. You can always go back and get either parts of it or get the whole thing and reuse it as it is. So that's duplicate. Here's one that I fairly recently discovered that actually is super helpful as well. If you're teaching more than one course on the same campus, and I am, then you can actually copy things from one course to another right here in Canvas. It used to be that you had to, or the way I used to do is I would just select all the stuff on one page and copy and paste it on another page. And that was problematic for lots of reasons. You can, again, with the 3 dots icon, just copy and paste. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna copy that into another Canvas sandbox that I have, so I don't put it in a real course. So I click on the 3 dots icon and I'll choose copy to. And now it asks me, where do I want to copy to? I'm going to copy to my other sandbox course. So I happen to already have the name of that course that'll help me find it. I'll just paste it right in here. And that'll help me find my sandbox. And it is this one I'm going to. So I'm going to click on that course to copy to. And then once you can either just copy the page to the course, which is one thing to do, or if you wanted to actually stick it in the module, in a module in that course, you can come and choose one of the modules. So I'll choose it module 1, and you can actually choose where in the module it's going to go. So I'll put this thing at the bottom of that module 1. So I'll click copy, and I should get a success just like that. And I happen to already have that course. I think I have that course already alive here. So here's that course that I just copied to. Is that the one? Now I'll go and open it. It's not the one, but this is the one. Let's open that. So here's the course I just copied to, and I'll go into my modules. This is just another sandbox, by the way. I'll go to my modules. Where's my modules? There they are. Go to my modules, and there's this sample page for editing that I just copied over. So again, a really quick way to copy paste into other courses. Now that only is going to work for courses in the same instance of Canvas. So if I teach at another college, I cannot copy a course to the other college there. I can only copy into a class at SMC. And that's a great way to get individual items. And I'm doing it for pages, but this applies to, again, to announcements, to, again, it doesn't apply to quizzes, it does apply to new quizzes, announcements, and discussions as well, and assignments as well. So all those things are things that you may want to not start from scratch, but start and use what you already have to begin a new page. Similarly, and this is sort of along the same lines, but I'll just show it to you in this class anyway. If you're looking at your modules, so I'll go to the modules in this class. That's in a new tab, more tabs. I'll go to the modules in this class. And let's say, and here's one of the problems you have when you have a lot of stuff in your modules, is you want to move things around. You want to reorder things. And you can, of course, drag and drop. But in this case, I have a lot of stuff. This is my module. These are my actual modules for this class. One thing I'll mention that I use a lot is the collapse all to make them all shrink, and you can see individual ones. So that's handy if you just want to see individual ones. But let's say I have them all expanded like this, and I want to move something around. And this applies to either individual items or to actual whole modules. I'll actually do it for a whole module. I was going to do an item, but let's do a whole module. So I'll come down to this module here, this thing that is, you see, is 8-week class. I'll come to this textbook resources module, and I'll just move this somewhere. I'll click on the 3 dots icon, and I'll choose move module. You have the same icon for an individual item as well. And now it asks you, where do you want to move it? So you want to move it to the top, or do you want to move it down? I'll move it after some other module. I'll move it after just randomly after my resources, and click move. And now I've moved that module down to a new place. So that's a fast way, rather than I spent a lot of time dragging and moving up and down and trying to get things dragged. And this is a much faster way to move things around. I'm going to just take a deep breath for a minute, because I've been talking straight for 15, 20 minutes. And I will, let's just take I'm going to take a look and see what we have in the way of questions. Let's see where we're at in questions before I go too much further. I said I wasn't going to, but I will take a look and see if there's any major questions happening in the chat. Let me see what's going on in my chat here.
So Gerry, just so you know, we kept having people adding, so I kept posting the pro tips because everyone who added
thank you so much, Sharon,
couldn't see it. So I apologize for so many pro tips.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate you putting that in there, and that's absolutely correct. If you add after the stuff has been posted, you don't see it. So thank you, Sharon. Can you come and help me on every class I teach? You're awesome.
If you'll do my grading for me, I would be happy to help you.
No deal. Absolutely no deal. You know that, but nice try anyway. All right, so Andrew is asking, is there a way to copy quizzes? There is not an easy way to copy quizzes. You can actually export a quiz and import In the extra time, I will talk about that if you want to see it, but the traditional quizzes cannot be copied that way. Every other thing can be, but not traditional quizzes. New quizzes, I believe, can, but not the traditional quizzes. And if, again, it looks like there's a few questions about that. So in our extra time, I'll talk about export and import. And the broad, if we don't get to stay for that, the broad idea is that you would export, but you just export one quiz, and then you can import that one quiz into your new class. All right, let's go on, because I do want to make sure I can give you as many tips as I can. And I want to get into what we're calling the new rich content editor, which is not really new anymore. So I'm just going to call it the rich content editor, the RCE. And I will just mention here in our page that we have some links to some basics. I'm not going to get into the basics of the RCE. I hope you've been using it and have found it fairly straightforward, but I am going to show a couple of things in the interface that I want to make sure that you don't miss, and give you a couple of really helpful, I think, shortcuts that can really speed your use of the new / no longer new RCE. So what I'll do is I'll go back to my course, back to my sandbox, and I'll just go and I'm going to edit a page. I actually have made a page here for editing. I have a sample page here made for editing. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up in the new tab and edit it. So I can go and edit it. And I just put a couple of pictures here from Unsplash and some lorem ipsum text just to have something to edit with. And I'll go into my editor, and there it is. Here's our editor. So here's the new rich content editor, such as it is. It's got this menu bar and this list of icons. And they are mostly duplicates of each other. Almost everything you can do in the menu bar, you can do in the icons, and vice versa. A couple of things that I think people might not notice, but I'll mention, is that you can resize how much of your window is showing. So sometimes when you're editing big stuff, it's easier to make it a little bit bigger. And you can actually go full screen with this icon down here that will let you see let it be full screen. And that's a lot easier to edit. And to get out of full screen, the escape key on your keyboard will take you back to where you were. So those are the sort of the two maybe less obvious parts of the new rich content editor. There's a ton of things in here which I'm not going to explore because they're not really tips. Those are just basics of the RCE. And I encourage you to go and explore those, the help docs and or the video that's like a 5 or 6 minute video that describes everything about the RCE. But I have a couple of other things that might be useful to you. So first off, here's the thing that I do a lot, and maybe you do as well. I'll go to the bottom of this page, and I'll just put myself with some extra space to do this stuff down here on this page. I copy and paste things from the web all the time. So what I'm going to do is jump to a web page and copy some stuff from it and paste it and show you the thing that happens fairly regularly. So here is the page for our Flex Day. You've undoubtedly seen this. And let's say I wanted to copy and paste this stuff here. So I'm going to copy that, highlight it, and copy it. Control or Command C on Windows and Mac respectively. Control C or Command C to copy. If you're not using that shortcut every day, you should use that shortcut every day. Control C to copy, easy to remember. I'm going to jump back over to my Canvas page, and I'm going to paste. And if you've done this before, you know what's going to happen. It pastes, but it has all the existing formatting. This is actually not terrible formatting, but it has all the formatting in there, and maybe I don't want that formatting. There's a lot of, especially when you copy from the web, sometimes you get gigantic text. Because you're copying from one page to another, the formatting comes into play. And by the way, I didn't say it, but I did it instinctively. Control or Command V is the opposite of Control C. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. And I know you think it should be P, but you know P is print. So V is paste. V is right next to C if it helps you to remember, or you can think of it as the paste. So the problem with that is that I don't want the formatting. I don't want all the extra stuff in there. So I'm going to undo that paste with Control or Command Z. Another shortcut for you, another side tip, Control Z to undo. And that is one that you should remember because it really is literally in every application that you could think of, Control or Command Z to undo. And now what I'll do is I'll paste, but I will paste without the formatting. And that is, instead of Control V, Control Shift V. So got a little dance with the fingers, Control Shift V. And now I pasted, and now my formatting, that it was whatever formatting that was on the page, is gone. Also, if there were images or other things from those pages, those would not come over. It's just going to paste the plain text. That means paste plain text. So Control Shift V or Command Shift V to paste plain text. All right, so that's that. And there's some things you'll need to do. Obviously, once you finish pasting it, then you'll want to format, and we'll talk about formatting in a bit. But that is, to my experience, almost always better than pasting with the formatting and trying to unravel the formatting that's already there. It can be really problematic. Coming in with plain text, then you really have ultimate control, and you can make it match the rest of the stuff on your page. All right, now let's talk about linking. And this is your other pro tip for the day. Let's say I want to make a link to that page. So I'll jump back to that page for a minute. So I have a place right here that will be a good link. Let's see. I thought I had a place right here. Oh yeah, Spring Flex. I'll do right. I'll make that be a link to the Flex Day. That's the thing that you typically want to do. So I'll make that be a link to the Flex Day page. So I'm going to jump back to that page for a minute and copy the link. So here's the page. Come up to the address bar and just Control-C again for copy, to copy that address. And now I'll jump back to my editing page. And here is maybe the tip. If you knew this already, then I give you a silent applause. If you didn't know this, this may change your link creating life in Canvas. I hope it will. Control-K or Command-K will open up this insert link dialog box. And now I can just click right in here and do Control-V. And now done. There is my link. So I just copied I put the text, copied the URL, and then Control-K or Command-K to paste it right inside there. That is my favorite fairly recent shortcut that I've been using. And by the way, that Control-K, Command-K is also fairly universal. It's true in Google Docs. It's true in all the Office suite. So it is a shortcut that you don't have to say. It's just one shortcut for one thing. It actually is useful in all places. And so when someone's asking, is there a list of all these universal commands? So there is a list here on the rich content editor of the keyboard shortcuts, but strangely, Control-K is not listed there. There is this list of other shortcuts. I actually haven't followed that list. So you can see if it's there, and you can follow that list and see there may be some other things in there. I sort of discovered Control-K, actually just found it by trying, because Control-K works other places. I said, let's try it here. And lo and behold, it does work. So that can save you. It has saved me a ton of time in making links to external pages. Let's just talk about one other kind of link that you might make, as long as we're on the links topic. Let's make a link within our class. And I assume that many people are aware of this, but just in case you're not, it's worth covering. So I like icons, so I tend to use the icons here, but you can also go up here to insert. But I'll come here to links, and I'll do course links. I'll click on that. So it defaults to links, and this lets you make links to pages in your class. So I'll pick a page to link to just for the heck of it. And if you have a lot of pages, one thing that's really helpful is you can click in the search bar and just start typing. I'll type in, I know I have a page is called Learn PS. I'll link to the Learn PS 05 Myth and Monsters. This is a chapter from one of the book. And that links to that page inside my class. You can also link, I won't do it here, but you can also link to individual modules in your class. There's no modules listed in this class. Oh, I know it's no modules because I got my search on. You can also link to individual modules. There they are. Or you can link to, and this is something people don't notice, you can actually link to the navigation. So you can link to grades or assignments or whatever. If you've got that in navigation, you can link to that as well. I wouldn't link to files in this class because students can't see files, but you can link to it right there in the course navigation. That's another way to make a link to parts of your class. Also, another thing you might want to link to, and I do this all the time, we talked about using files. So you might want to give them some files to go with this chapter. And I'll go here and I'll make a link. And so up here under links, I can come down and find files. Now you have two sets of files. You may or may not know this. You have two sets of files that are related to you. You have your personal files or the course files. And I recommend that you, within each individual course, keep your files in course files. Here is a good reason to organize your course files. I imagine on your computer at home, you have folders that you keep things in. You should do that when you upload files as well. You should put things in their own individual folders. I have folders here. In this case, I have a folder for my data files. So I'm going to go inside that folder, and now I can easily find my Learn PS. I could search for it, but I want to point out that when you search, it actually looks in both your course files and your My files, and you may find it harder to find the thing you want. So for me, I think it's wiser to put your files organized in folders, you'll be happy that you did. And this is one of the places that you're happy because it's easy to find. I'll click on that, and there's my link to my files. And I will, I'll save that page for now. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about more editing, more things in the RCE. We'll talk about lists. So I will just check on my time here. We're in good shape. I'm going to go and try to make a bulleted list. I'm going to go back and edit this page some more and try to make a bulleted list. I have some text already prepared that I'm going to make this list off of. So I'll come down here and add in a couple of spaces. Quick extra bonus tip, another bonus tip. If you want to put a line across your page for separating, that's actually a really nice thing to do. Insert horizontal line. You may know that already, but if you didn't, there it is. You used to have to go into code to do that. Now you can do it right there on the editor. Insert horizontal line. Boom, there it is. And by the way, I think literally everything I've said today is somewhere in our notes. So if you're trying to remember where all these things are, it's in the notes. Don't worry. Just enjoy. Soak it in. Let's talk about lists. I'm going to go and copy paste some stuff that I have for to make a list. So I have some text here. I'm going to copy it, and this may have happened to you. I'm going to paste it in here. If it never happened to you, then good on you, but it happens to me all the time. So I pasted it in, and now I say, great, let's turn that into an unordered, a bulleted list. Here's my bullets, and I'll go like this, and I'll make it a bulleted list, and oh no, it's just one thing. That happens because what you copied doesn't really have a proper paragraph break at the end. It has something that would be called a line break. So there is a fairly easy way to solve that. I'm going to solve it right now. And it's a little bit labor intensive. I hope your list isn't 500 things long. Maybe you need to shorten that list. But in a list like this, you basically go to the end of each line, hit delete and enter. And I'll hit end. There's the end key on your keyboard, not end, but end. And if you have a full-size keyboard, it's right next to delete, end, and I'll hit delete and enter, or enter and delete, doesn't really matter. And I'll just basically delete that line break. So I'm just hitting end, delete, enter, and delete, enter. And let's see how fast I can do it without messing up. And delete, enter, and delete, enter. And I go to the end of that line, and I add in a new line to give me that bulleted list. So if you get this chunk of things, that should be a bullet, should be separate bullets. If you go to the end of the line, you delete and enter, it'll make a new bulleted list. And that's fine. I'm going to add one more thing on top of this. And this is, I'm a big fan. I teach web design. I'm a big fan of a white space. I think that I see so many pages that feel overcrowded. And in particular, for me, a lot of times, depending on the nature of the list, sometimes lists feel like they are too much on top of each other. I'd like some space in between them. There isn't a great way to do it until now. So at the end of each of these lines in the list, rather than hitting enter, I'm going to hit shift enter. And that adds a new line break at the end of that line. I'll do that for each of these ones again. And now I have, it's still, oops, that was the wrong thing. It's still a bulleted list, but now it's a, I keep hitting the wrong thing. There we go, shift enter, not shift delete, thank you. But now it's a list that is more spaced out and maybe a little bit easier to process, in particular for a long list. I personally like that better. So I'm a big fan of white space, as I said, and this is one way to get some white space. Still a list, and by the way, if this were a numbered list and not a bulleted list, the numbering would still stay the same, but you now have spaces between those steps. So that, again, is shift enter at the end of the line, and that adds another space, line break technically at the end of that line. All right, let me go on because we want to try to.
There's a couple questions in the chat.
Let's hear it.
How to get rid of bullets?
How to get rid of bullets? Okay, that's actually super simple. Let me turn it back to bullets first. So back to bullets, I said, oops, sorry, I actually got rid of. So I'm going to select the whole list here and make sure it turns back to bullets. Don't need this one. So to get rid of bullets, I'll turn it back to bullets first so you can see it as bullets. And then you just turn this button off. So on, and if you do that, you can now see the line breaks that are there. So you can just toggle on and off the list icon there, and that'll turn it on and off. All right, and so I'll address the other questions. I do want to make sure that we try to fill in these at least a couple more things. I think these next things will be particularly helpful to you. So let's talk about images. And this is one I get a lot of questions about from faculty. So here you have this image, and if you just put it on the page and put text on the page below it, you have all this extra wasted white space. Let me save that real quick. And you say, you know, I really wish I could put that text up here next to the image. congratulations, your wish is about to be granted. So here's how you do it. And it isn't exactly like you think, unfortunately. So if you click up here and then use the arrow and then try to type right here, the text goes there, but that's not exactly what you want. So what I'm going to do, let me undo that real quick. Here's what you do. Select the image, and then you align the image to either left or right. So if I want this image to stay on the left, I know it seems like it's on the left, but it's not aligned to the left in the HTML code. So if I come up here and choose left alignment, voila, now the image is in the same place, but the text wraps around. And I know the first thing you're going to say is, yeah, but the text is touching it. I know. I'll come to that. I'll come to the solution to that problem in just a second. Let's just align this other image to the right. So I'll come here and I'll do the same thing for the other image. And I'll choose align right. And now the text that was below it comes next to it. So now you have aligned your text and you've used your, you've used some of that wasted space. And of course, you can go in here and make more space if you need to between the lines, whatever you want to do. However, and this is, I don't want this to be a little scary, but I'm gonna do a little code because I don't know of a way to do the next thing without doing just a little piece of code. So don't be afraid. Code is your friend. We're gonna do this super easy. I'm gonna go back here. There's a little bit of code you can use, and it's actually right here in our document. Just to show how easy it is to use, I'm gonna just copy paste it from our document. So if I've got a left aligned image, I'm going to give it a margin right. So I'm going to copy this code right here. Be sure you get the whole thing, including the semicolon. I'm going to copy it with Control C and then go back into my editing. Where's that guy? Here we go, sample page. And I got to go to the HTML code. I know, don't be frightened. It's going to be fine. Switch to the HTML editor. There it is. Oh, it's code. It's fine. Quick side tip. You want to make your code bigger. It might sometimes make it easy, makes it easier to edit. Control or Command plus increases your magnification, and naturally Control or Command minus decreases. So I made it a little bit bigger because I sometimes can't see, and especially when you're doing code. So right here in this thing that says style equals float left, I'm going to zoom in, super zoom on that one. It's my digital zoom. So there it is where it says float left. I'm going to come right here and paste that thing. I'll put a space, although you don't have to, and then paste it. And there's my margin right 15px. And just for good measure, I'll come down to the other image that's floating to the right. And I'm going to paste in the other thing that was there. I'm actually going to cheat by typing instead of pasting, so I don't have to go back there. That's just going to be margin left 15px. So in this case, I'm just saving a little back and forward, but the same thing, copy paste in there. So the things that float right, you want to give it a little space on the left side, and things that float left, you want to give it a little space on the right side. Let's save that. Actually, I won't even save it. I'll just leave my HTML editing view. And now you can see space, 15 lovely pixels of space between the text and the image. It wasn't so bad, right? Code's not so painful. And that's great. And of course, you can increase the amount by increasing the number of pixels. I picked 15 as sort of a reasonable number. And you can, one of the nice things about this code is you can actually add margin on the bottom with something called margin bottom and margin top as well. But for now, that's a sort of a simple and straightforward thing to put images to the left and right. I'm going to save that. And I will, I promise, come to questions. I have one last thing that I want to make sure we hit on the rich content editor, which is embedding a video. And maybe you have embedded a video, but I'm going to maybe do it in a way that will hopefully be better. So let's edit this, and I will jump to a video that I want to embed. I'm going to pick a YouTube video because I think a lot of us use YouTube videos. So I'll go and find one. I think I got one here. Yep. So here is the Proud to Be SMC YouTube video. I just visit the video page. And again, there's a link in our Google Doc that describes how to embed. Has some links that describe how to embed, but it's pretty straightforward if you've not embedded before. You just go to the video, you click on the share button, and there's some code here that says embed. Now, here's the good thing. We're not going to have to get into this code. We're just going to copy the code and go on back. So before I do it the new way, I'm going to show you the old way. Let's do that first so we can see it side by side. Let me stick in another horizontal line so I can have some space here. And let's embed the old way. So you may have done this before, and I'll just do, before I copy that, I'll just copy the URL And Canvas does something fairly nice when you copy and paste the URL. And this is not terrible. There's nothing wrong with this embedding. I'll paste it. And when I click save, it now understands that is YouTube. And it gives me, oh, it didn't give me that link. Oh, it did not give me what I thought it would give me. That's surprising. Let me go back here and edit. Hang on. Let's see why it didn't give me my link there. Oh, yeah, okay, I had to hit space afterwards. Now let's save it. And now it recognizes it as a link. And it does this thing where it puts in the link and the YouTube video, and that's fine. But let's go one better. So I'm going to jump back to my video one more time and go get my embed code this time and copy it again. And now I'll jump back over to Canvas and go back to editing my page. And I will edit it and I'll put this video in a slightly different way. The nice thing about this is you can embed and use the code. Let's make this thing its regular size, Control-0, and use the code without actually having to touch code. So I'll come down here, I copied, and I'll just come down here and I'll do insert, and here is embed. And it's just saying, okay, give me that code. And you click it and you paste right in there, Command or Control-V again, and then submit. And now what gets put in is, to me, better. This is more, students are much more likely, I think, to click on this. It's clear it's a video. It's, in this case, it has the desired thumbnail from YouTube. So it's, instead of just sort of picking a random thumbnail, it has a thumbnail that it's the same video, but this is it. This is, I think, more likely to be clicked on by students. And in real life, I'd probably put some kind of text here that describes what it is and maybe describe the length of it and so on. But that is a better way, I think, to embed YouTube video. The same, it really applies to any video that you can get an embed code for. YouTube is the most common, but Vimeo also works. I haven't tried many of the others, but any embed code you can get, you can stick right on your page without having to go into code. And by the way, if you want to go into code, good on you, but if you don't, that's okay too. I'll throw in as one last bonus tip relating to code. One of the problems with YouTube videos is that after they play, what happens is what shows is your any other videos that are sort of related to that YouTube wise. In this case, it may not be what you want. You can change that behavior slightly by adding one new thing. I'll show you that where that's coming from real quick, and then we'll go do it. So you can add this little piece on right here, this $rel = 0. I know it's code, but trust me, it's super easy. Copy paste. I'm going to come back to my page. I'm going to edit that page. And now so you do not have to do this. You don't have to do this. Your video is working fine. But if you want to control what happens when the video ends, you can come down and look at the code for that video, and I will. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And here's the code, and here's the source equals. And at the very end of that, let's take a super close look at that. I'm going to paste in that thing I just copied, that $rel = 0. And now I'll save it. And now the difference is when that video finishes playing, I won't play the whole thing. It's a pretty nice video, but I won't play it right now. We don't have 2 minutes. And when it finishes playing, instead of showing random videos, it shows other videos from the same place. So in this case, other SMC related videos. So that rel = 0 says, show me only related videos. All right. I didn't, because we're at our 1:45 time, and I did not have a chance to cover some of the other things I would mention here, but I will just quickly show you here in our help doc. Settings in the gradebook are really helpful in the way you can make things work. I will encourage you to view, but I won't play it here, a video that shows about how to message students from the gradebook. So there's a video here, a 1 minute, no audio video, that just shows how to message students from the gradebook. So I'll put in a promo for that as well. And that's actually hosted right here in Google Drive. So we're at our time. I apologize for running over the time. If you want to stay and ask some questions about any of the stuff we've covered, I encourage you to. If you don't, you need to go and take a break. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. I understand. That's cool too. So I'll hang out here, and I'll look in the chat and answer any questions that I can. So let's see what's in the chat. And by the way, let me give a special extra shout out to Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. Sharon was just an attendee to this meeting, but she jumped in and decided to be a second teacher. Thank you, Sharon, so much. You are awesome.
I just know from experience, like you're in your flow, and then all of a sudden you gotta like stop and let people into a meeting, and it like it interrupts your train of thought.
Oh yeah,
So.
it's impossible to. I could not have covered. We could not have covered as much if it weren't for you. So thank you again.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Let me look at see if there's anything in chat that I'm missing. And by the way, you're welcome to unmute yourself. You don't have to. You can tell you what. I'm going to stop my share and just go back to me. So you're welcome to unmute yourself if you want to ask a live question. That's cool. Sometimes it's easier than typing.
I have a question.
Go for it.
How did you zoom into your screen? Hi.
How did I do what?
How did you zoom into a section of your screen
that's not a Canvas tip. So yeah, so are you on Windows or Mac?
I'm on a Mac, and that's my biggest
I help you.
problem.
I don't know how to do it on a Mac. On Windows, for the folks listening, if you use the Windows key and the plus sign, that zooms you in. That's the screen zoom tool. They're probably I would Google screen zoom on Mac. I don't know if somebody is on who knows. Then pipe in and let us know. I do not know how to do it on Mac.
There is one in accessibility. You hold the Option Command plus, but the thing is, it doesn't work on Zoom. It works on my screen, but my students don't see it.
I see. I got it. So thank you for the folks who put it in. So yeah, Command plus, but it only works. It doesn't work in Zoom, so that's not helpful. So it doesn't work even when you're sharing a window. That's surprising.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I've seen it in my recordings. It doesn't zoom in, zoom out. I teach Photoshop and software classes, and sometimes it's really hard to see
Photoshop as well. Yeah, you got to get the detail of that tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Sorry about that.
Okay.
And someone was asking, Stephanie was asking, do I give training somewhere else? Yeah. So in the doc you got at the very end is a link to the other training, some of the other trainings that I do. I'll put it in the chat just to save you a little trouble, but I happen to have it right here. Thought that might be a question. I'll place in the chat as well. But you can. This is also linked in the doc. So either way. So these are the other trainings that I'm scheduled for, at least so far this semester. But there may be others. Other questions. If I missed you in the chat and you still want to ask a question, by all means, please do. But if I didn't miss you in the chat, I don't think I
have a quick question.
Go ahead, please.
About easy ways of copying a test bank. Right now, I'm copying and pasting individually in the quiz. Is there an easier way?
Wait, say what you're doing right now. Say one more time.
Going to the question, copying the question, copying the.
Oh, quiz. Oh, yes. There's definitely an easier way than that. Let me share. Okay. Let me share and show that real quick. So I think I have some quizzes in this class. So let me just show you. So it's a two-step process, but it's not that cumbersome. It's basically export import. So I don't know if you've exported and imported classes before, but it's the same notion. So I'll go to my quizzes and I'll just export one of these and import one of these. And I actually do this for, so here's a quiz. I'll just pick the first one. So I want to export and import that Learn PS01 quiz. So I'll go to settings, strangely enough, and I'll go to export course content. And there you can choose quiz, and you can actually choose which quizzes to export. So I'll do this real quick. I'll choose this one and I'll create export. So that creates this file. I'll do the other half as well. That creates this file that shouldn't take too long because this quiz is it's not that hard. But yeah, there it is. So here it is up here, new export. I'm gonna go and save that on my computer. You do have to download it to your computer. And this is actually not a bad idea. Just in general, if you want to have that quiz for future use. It's also really helpful if you're like me teaching in two schools, you want to copy the questions from one campus to another. So I'll click on this and I'll save it. I'll just save this thing on my desktop somewhere. I'll save it. I'll put it right literally on my desktop right there on the bare desktop. So there it is. It's saved on my desktop. Now I'll go into the other course and I'll just use my other sandbox here so I don't mess up a real course. And I'll do the other half of it, which is import. So I'll come back here and here's where you got to go to settings. And I'll go to import course content. And there the choice is a QTI zip file. I know that's a weird name, but that is the file that gets exported as a quiz. So QTI zip file. And now I'll go choose it. And I'll go to my desktop again and find that thing. Here's the thing I just exported. And you can put it in a question bank. I'm just gonna let it go in the root area. And I don't have any matching IDs, but if you were importing a revised version of the quiz, you might want to check this so it would overwrite the existing questions. In this case, brand new questions. And it sounds like what you're doing is usually brand new questions as well. Now I'll click import and done. And now when I go and look at my quizzes in this class, in my new class, where's my quizzes? I changed my order here. Quizzes, there you are. When I look at my quizzes in this class, there's that quiz.
Oh, copying too. Can't you copy a quiz to another course?
I believe that you cannot. Actually, you know what? Let's try that. Yeah, it looks like you can. So that actually is new. So you can copy to another course that way. I actually did not think that you could do it with quiz, but you can. Thank you for that.
You just can't send it to like another school. You can only
can't send it to another school, but you can send it to another course. Thank you.
Yeah. So your method would be if you're sending it to like another Canvas.
Yep, and that's the method I've been doing in the past, and it works. But this is your point of using the copy to it, which is exactly what we had done for a page before, also works. Thank you. Who was that?
Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah.
Other questions? I'm going to stop my share one more time.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
So you showed how to put the image into your page, but I'm having trouble just putting the link of the image on the page.
So you want to link to an image, but not actually put the image itself.
Right.
Let's see if we can do that. I think we can.
Like a shortcut for that. There's too many things. They changed it. It used to be really easy, and now you've got to go into it a little bit.
Is it an image in your class or an image on the web?
No, it's an image from my files that I don't want to put the image in. I just want
to put an image from your files. Let's see if I generally don't do that. I haven't done that, but let's see. Let me try it. Let's give it a try. Let's do it live. I think I have a way I might do it. Let's go and edit one of the, I'll edit the same page. It's my sample page. Edit my sample page one more time. Oh, that was the end of the video playing. I got it. So let's insert an image. I'll go to the very bottom here and insert an image.
Share screen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's not sharing. Why not? Sorry about that. That's what I get for not looking at my monitor. There we go. All right. So here we are for sample page for editing. Thank you. And I'll go here and I'll do course images. And I think I can actually do it instead of using course image. I think I can actually do it by going to course links, by doing it that way, and then finding my image in my files. So go inside my course files and find here's some images for discussion and do it this way. So I believe that this will, let's find out if that's actually accurate. Come down here and now it still wants to put the images. So yeah. I'll try it a different way. So you can put in some text, see the image, and then make it a link that way. So I'll highlight it and then click on it that way. And it still wants to do it that way.
Yeah, I'm having trouble. I eventually get it, but I always forget. How did I get the link?
Okay, so there it is. That's what it is. So it puts it in. Okay, this is actually a new thing in the new rich content editor. I have not noticed this before, but when you have the image in, you can actually change it to display text link. So click on the image and choose image options, and then choose display text link. And that will instead put in the text link.
So display text link, and then I'm sorry, what was the last part?
So let me just put it back in one more time. So you can actually put the image in whatever way you normally would. So I'll just do it. I'll do it the simple way, which is just to click on your images and put this image in. And then when you click on the image, you've got image options, and one of the options is display text link instead of that image.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure.
Can I ask just one more question?
Absolutely.
So when I'm typing information, sometimes when I want like no spacing in between sentences, and sometimes I get like big gaps between my sentences.
Shift enter. So that's the same thing that I was saying for
so it is the same as that other one you
yes.
mentioned? Okay.
So when you hit enter, that makes a new paragraph, which by default in HTML is going to have a certain amount of space. But if you do shift enter, that puts in a line break, which puts it basically right next to the previous line.
And that's true of a Mac, being on
Yes.
a Mac, Shift Enter?
Shift enter. I think it may be shift return on a Mac instead of shift enter, but holding whatever you would normally press, just add shift to it, and that'll make it a line break instead of a new paragraph.
Because I usually have to go all the way to the end of the space in order to get the lines being all, in good, like no spacing in between.
Right. So you see what I did here? I did shift enter after each one of these things. And this is as little space as you can leave between lines. If you wanted to be closer to that, it probably would be hard to read anyway.
Okay.
And this is what it looks like with normal space.
Okay, great.
So that was shift enter or shift. I think it may be shift return on a Mac. If there's a Mac user who knows if it's whether it's shift enter or shift return on a Mac. I'm sorry, say again.
I mean, it's shift. Yeah, it's just shift return.
Shift return. Yeah. Okay, that's right. Because you're on the Mac, enter is return. So just add
exactly.
Shift.
I was gonna say it's the same on the Mac.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
But just so she knows that if she does shift return, then and if she wanted to make a bullet list, she would then have to go get rid of all of those, because essentially that's not putting in line spacing.
Exactly right.
That's what so in order to turn it into a bullet list, then she'd have to remove all of those.
Right, and that's actually the thing I was showing before. That's so exactly right. Thank you for pointing that out. So when you when you have the shift enter or shift return, it basically makes these things all as part of one line, one paragraph. You've got a break in between, what's called a line break, which means go down one line. But then if you try to turn those into a bulleted list, it thinks of that as all one thing.
Okay.
And you have to do what I've done before with the delete and enter, I should say, to get the space between them.
Great, got it. Thank you.
Sure. Other questions? We have a couple more minutes before you got to go to your next thing. You're welcome to ask. Let's see if I can get my chat alive here.
I just had a quick question. I was embedding videos in a different way, but I found that when I embedded the videos, they were huge, and then I was trying to figure out how to adjust. I figured out how to adjust the size, but I didn't have the thing where it set the ratio. So I was just sort of doing calculations.
Yeah.
Because in the old one you could set, there was a place, the way you used to be able to do it before. So I didn't know if there's a way to do that. Like your video went in normal size, but when I was doing it, I got videos that were like huge and I had to reduce the size. So I went into the code and just messed around and made it work. But
I am so impressed with you going into the code, messing around. That is really that is no, seriously, that you are braver than many. But I will say that depending on where you're embedding from, sometimes the embed controls will allow you to set a size beforehand. But short of that, you kind of have to get in and look at this. After you look at code, it's not so scary after a while. I know it starts out scary, but when you look at that embed, there it is, width and height. And I know what you're talking about in terms of doing the calculation. I got my calculator on my computer, and if you want it to be half, you'd have to.
Okay, that's what I did. I just calculated on my, but I was like, is there a better way?
There is not. There's an easier way, and someone is on the line and knows. Please let us know, because I don't know of an easier way. That is the way I've always done it, and I'm always looking for an easier way, but I have not found it.
Wow, I can't believe I did it the right way. All right, thank you. I was hoping there was an easier way.
Yeah, I know. It'd be nice if there was, but I don't think there is.
All right, cool. That's not too bad then.
All right, so it is exactly now by my clock, exactly 2 o'clock. Again, I can stay for a few more minutes if you have more questions. If you don't have more questions, then thank you so much for your time. I hope you got something useful out of this. If there was at least one thing that was useful, and you'll go and save you some time in Canvas, make your classes better for your students, and give you some time to go outside and do something else.
Okay.
So I'm going to hang out in the room as I usually do, just sit at the front of the room and stare at the camera. So feel free to ask a question if you have one. Otherwise, take care of yourselves. Have a great afternoon. See you in the session later today or tomorrow.
Are you on like the DE mentor? Are you like in a committee, technology committee or something?
No,
like that?
I'm nowhere. I do technology training, and for example, I have teaching and helping to facilitate an online teaching and design class that the DE department is giving. So I'm sort of an ad hoc trainer. And you saw the link. If you didn't see the link, I can paste it again. The link to some other trainings that I'm doing. But that's, I don't have an official status other than that.
Nice.
But if you have a
Gerry,
question,